Good morning. Thank you all for stopping in and spending a little time with me. I'm Brian Runnels. I am the Director of Safety and Compliance with TVC ProDriver. We are a company that supplies legal representation for drivers when they receive tickets, and we'll go to court and do all that stuff. But I'm on the CSA and safety side to where we do a lot of the challenging of violations. And one thing that I've noticed as I work with individual drivers and companies is there still seems to be some confusion regarding citations, violations, what they are, how they react, how they interplay with each other, how they can be standalone. And believe it or not, I think a lot of it's just terminology. I think calling a citation a violation or vice versa, we spend a lot of time trying to straighten that verbiage out. And so I want to just go into some of that. So a citation, those are tickets. Those are most often for a unsafe driving behavior. You got your speeding, being in the wrong lane, failure to obey a traffic control device, using a cell phone, seatbelt, those types of things. And those are written up, those can be written up by any officer, and those have to be taken to court. So those can be written up by a city cop, a county, a sheriff, highway patrol, just about anybody. So those have to go to court. The violation, those appear on an inspection report, okay? Only officers that are certified to do inspections can write a violation. Now that's not necessarily highway patrol. There are some local jurisdictions, like here in Louisville. Louisville has officers that can do vehicle inspections. Same with Lexington, Houston, Dallas. I'm sure there's a ton more, but those are the ones that popped in my mind right away. So those are the things that have to be challenged through the DataQ system to get them adjudicated. However, and we'll get into that here in a moment. Warnings, I'm not exactly sure why officers write warnings, but where the confusion comes in on that is when and I'll give an example of it here in a minute, when an inspection report is written and a driver receives a violation, because that's written on the inspection report, for 6 to 10 over, and then it says just warning beside it, the driver thinks he got a clean inspection because he just got a warning. That's not the case. So we'll get into that here in a minute, but those are the definitions. So what do you do with them? And I want to try to get through this presentation relatively quickly just so I can answer questions, and feel free to just raise your hand because I'd rather answer those questions than to show you what I have because it might be covered. So citation, points go on the driver's MVR. Okay, that's one distinct difference between a citation and a violation. Citations have to be taken to court. Shameless plug, that's what we do. We represent drivers. We have over 7,000 attorneys that can go in any jurisdiction in the US and Canada, with a couple small exceptions up in Canada around the Nova Scotia area, whatever. Possible outcomes of a citation, the driver pays the fine. Okay, they don't bother to go to court and fight it, they just pay it. There's a reduction in the charge and a reduction in cost. Those two things can happen, or there's a reduction in charge and no cost assessed. Obviously, that's the best possible outcome. The ticket goes away, there's no cost associated to it. Whew. Got away with it. Violations on an inspection report, those go on the driver's PSP, so their personal safety record, and it goes on the company's safety report when it comes to their SMS, their CSA scores. Must be challenged through the DataQ system, and it really does require proof or at least a darn good story on why that violation was written incorrectly. Just on a side note, using our own, stay away from the mic, Brian. Using our own personal or our own company's data on a citation. When our attorneys take citations to court, 97% of those, we come out with a favorable outcome. Challenging something through the DataQ system, well, let me back up. When a citation and a violation are written together, and we take the ticket to court and have it adjudicated, we can then take that information, DataQ it, the violation on the inspection report, and have that removed as well, with just a couple of exceptions. I wish I could say we're 100% on that. But the state of Tennessee has found a small loophole, if you will, that says if there's any fine, and guys, gentlemen in the room, we know the word fine is never fine. That's a bad word to all of us. Why are you smiling? You know that's true. If there's a fine assessed, they take the charge away. You were speeding 15 over. They said, nope, we're going to do that away as long as you pay a $100 fine. State of Tennessee has said, okay, that shows guilt. We are not removing it from the inspection report. I think there's a couple other states that do that too, but Tennessee is the one that really, they dig their heels in and just will not move. So we're like 97% on adjudicating that stuff through DataQs. If there is now just the violation with no citation attached to it, challenging those through the DataQ system, 25, 27% victory rate, not a lot. Because you're basically going back to the officer and his superior saying that violation's not right. And if we don't have anything to chew on with that or to put out there in front of them and say, yeah, this is why it's incorrect, just going to them with nuh-uh, that usually doesn't play well. And we don't win many of those. We try, but we don't. Any questions on how that works? Okay, cool. So how they work together, we kind of touched it. When a citation is written along with a violation on the inspection report, first things first, we got to take care of the citation. Okay? You got to take care of the citation, take it to court. If you pay it, you're not going to be able to challenge an inspection. You're just not. You've pled guilty. You said, yep, I did it, but now I want it taken off the inspection report. No, you're not going to win that. So the ticket's got to be taken to court first, get it adjudicated, hopefully with no fine attached to it. Reasonable court costs, that's a bypass on our end. So we spend a lot of time talking to our attorney network saying, hey, get the court cost. Change that word from fine to court cost, now we can challenge it. They want to play the game with words, so can we. If successful in reducing or eliminating the citation, then the violation can be removed. So what does it look like and where to look? Okay, this is just a violation on an inspection report. Okay, it's about halfway down the sheet. There are some states that have some oddball inspection reports, but more often than not, it's a pretty uniform form. So this is just an easy one, air brakes. He's got some hose into the outer reinforcement ply. Supply line damage, see pictures. Wow, that officer went above and beyond. That's going to be really hard to challenge for two reasons. One, he took pictures, and number two, he put the driver out of service. See where it says out of service and there's a Y there? Put the driver out of service for it, which means he's not going to be able to move until that hose is fixed. Well, how are we going to challenge that violation is incorrect when the road service had to come out and fix it? That's going to be really, really hard. Violations with citations on an inspection report. I put this one in here because, boy, it has a lot of color to it. This is one that we worked with not too long ago, and thank goodness there was citations written. Seeing that about the fourth column over where it says citation number? That's going to tell you if the driver received a citation along with the inspection report. He was put out of service for 3 things, and believe it or not, I'm going to show you the ticket on that very top violation. and this is why it's important to take these things to court. If you notice, that was a 26,000 pound bridge, and he was 88,000 pounds, 63,000 pounds over the weight limit on that bridge. You're not going to be able to see it on this ticket that I'm going to show you, but that was $19,400. So don't necessarily want to pay those. The problem that I have on this, that false log that driver received and is over 14, and yes, I looked at the logs, and yeah, he was lying, $200. But $19,000 on the overweight. So this is something that when they receive both, now we'll take that ticket to court. Let's see, there was 2 tickets written. We would challenge both of those in court. If we get those adjudicated, we can then go to this inspection report, show it to the state of Oregon, say, here's the adjudication information, the disposition from the court. This was taken off, and then we're going to challenge those violations on the inspection report to have those removed too, which is really going to be a big deal because he was put out of service, so these are going to affect the driver and the company's out of service rates on their safety record. So there's the tickets. Yeah, that's hard to see. The one on the right, about 3/4 of the way down, you can see $19,400 for that overweight, and $400 for, some tax information, driving over his false log, and his 14-hour rule. So that's what the citations look like. So 2 different forms, 2 different ways of fixing this or dealing with this. Any questions on that? Okay, cool. Warnings. It's a waste of paper, quite honestly, in my mind. Brian, stay away from the damn mic. If a warning is issued on an inspection report along with the violation, so instead of, whoops, oh shoot, went the wrong way. So instead of where that citation number is on that, it just says warning. Okay? If there's a violation code written on that far left side, yeah, I want to make sure it's my left and your left. A violation code, that's what goes on your company and the driver's safety record. Citation number, that's what goes on his MVR. So if the word warning is written there where it says citation number, there's really nothing you can do with it. Warnings don't go to court. Warnings don't appear on a driver's MVR. And you can still DataQ the violation, but warnings you can't do anything with. So I'm not exactly sure why they write those, because it doesn't appear anywhere. Anybody ever received those, the warnings? Yeah? Yeah. Thanks. You can't do anything with it. That was the ticket. Doesn't affect your ability to challenge the violation. So there's a warning. Okay, received a warning for the tire. He was put out of service for it. Tires are really hard. They carry a lot of CSA points. And anything that has an out of service to it also carries an extra 2 points. That's the other thing too, the points. A lot of misconception on what points, how many, what for. On an MVR, we know that, about 12, 13 points? That's kind of where they draw the line. You know, your license either gets suspended or a license will get downgraded or something like that at 12 points. CSA, man, points are unlimited. They're on a scale of 1 to 10. And kind of the way you have to think about it is the closer those numbers get to 10, the more likelihood it is to cause a crash. That's how they came up with these numbers. So like a form and manner violation on your ELD or your logbook, those are 1 point. Likelihood of causing a crash because you forgot to put your trailer number in there, very low. To where fatigue driving, like we saw on that one before, that's a 10-pointer. Very likely to cause a crash. I have another inspection for that same truck 3 hours later where he jumped that out of service order. and a whole nother set of tickets. So that's how the points work. And as right now is, a driver or a company can just keep stockpiling numbers because there is no limit to where the federal government says, you get 100 points, you're done. They haven't done that. They're not going to do that. In fact, it's not even a requirement for a company to run this information when they hire somebody. Is it a best practice? Absolutely. Because if you see a driver that has a ton of violations on there, what makes you think he's not going to do that to your score too? Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Yeah, the question was, do points drop off? They sure do. So the points are time weighted. And we'll talk on the company basis here. So for the first 6 months, whatever that score was, like we talked about, the fatigue driving was 10 points. That's multiplied by 3 for the first 6 months, so it's 30. The next 6 months, it's multiplied by 2. So that violation's worth 20 points. The third time it drops is at the 1 year mark, and it lasts for an entire year at times 1. So it's worth 10 points. Drivers, on your individual, I almost did it again, on your individual record, it stays a year, a year, a year. So you keep it for 3 years. Okay? So does that answer your question? All right, awesome. Yeah, and so the key there is, as violations come, you want to keep new ones from coming in, so the stuff that eventually is going to fall off is going to adjust your score. I don't want to go down too big of a rabbit hole here, but the problem with the whole system is you're compared up against peers in your same group. And companies move into that group, and they move out of that group. You move into another group, and then fall back out of that group, and that has an impact on your scores. So it's to say that, okay, it's 6 months, when that thing drops, my score's going to drop. Not necessarily true. Because if everybody in your group is improving as well, you're still going to stay at that same number. And the CSA scores, they're 1 to 100. Just kind of think about it this way. The closer you get to 100, that's how much percentage of your group is doing better than you. So if you're at 97% in one category, 97% of the companies in your peer group are doing better than you are. Okay, so that's how they look at it. And all that translates into your ISS score, which is how they kind of determine whether they're going to inspect you or not when you run across the scale. Or if you've got pre-pass or drive-wise, if your pre-pass and drive-wise is working or not. Or you're getting just a ton of red lights. If you're getting a ton of red lights, that means your score's high, and they have to look at you. Oh, we just kind of talked on that. And for example, traffic violations are assigned points. Accumulating 18 points or more in 2 years can lead to mandatory driver safety programs. Indiana still allows this. Many, many states do not, and you may have heard the term masking. That's what masking is, a deferment plan. Okay, you've got remember we used to be able to go to driving school or traffic school if you did something wrong? A lot of states have done away with that because they're saying, look, you are not going to mask the fact that you got a cell phone ticket by going and taking a 4-hour class. That's just not going to happen. And we encounter that with the citations. That's the reason another reason we're 97% on getting those tickets taken care of, because there are what they call no relief counties in the country. And no relief counties say, by gosh, if you got a commercial license and you got a 16 over, we're not changing it. You're paying that. And unfortunately, it's a situation where we have to talk to our customer and say, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to pay this one. They're in a county that we can hire an attorney, but it's not going to go anywhere. So, so that happens a lot. Common violations, failure to yield 2 points, speeding 2 to 6, depending on the speed. See how the points are so vastly different? So vastly different. Like I said, the tires are a big one. Those are 8 points apiece. Most of the time when there's a tire that's flat, it adds another 2 points because they're going to put you out of service for it. So it's worth 10 times 3, it's 30. So tires is a huge thing. And please understand that, this is a side note on just my maintenance mind, 50% of whatever that tire is rated for, if it's at that air pressure, it's flat. Most tires are rated for 110 pounds. If they're at 55 or below, they're flat, and you will be put out of service for it. And that is not a good way to tell 55 to 70. So it makes a huge difference. CSA points, 1 to 10, we kind of talked about that. I jumped ahead. I was so excited to say something about it, I just completely blew right through my presentation. And we talked about the time waiting. I'm sorry, did someone want to, I saw somebody reach up. Did you want to take a picture of that one? Did you want the one before too? Okay, sorry. Say, hey man, stop. How are we doing on time? Perfect. So what to do next? What path needs to be taken to successfully remove a citation or a violation? Can you do it yourself? Yes, you can. However, if it's a deal where you've got to appear in court, that could be a real pain in the neck. You're in New Mexico once every 6 months, and that's daggone it where you got the ticket. Now you're going to have to go to court there. So that's stuff that we do. And then the violations, to challenge those through the DataQ system, you can do that yourself. You just set up your account, and you offer them the information that you have, and see what they say. They can tell you no the first time, and they're going to want you to, maybe they need more information, or they want more information. Okay, if you can supply them that, then you've got a shot at having it turned over. You just can't send them the same stuff twice, because they will reject it twice. I will say, I live in Indiana. Good luck challenging an unsafe driving behavior up there. I know those guys, and I've tried to challenge stuff with those guys, and it doesn't work. But you can do all this stuff yourself. It's just a matter of knowing how to do it. How can we help? We have the attorneys to go to court for you after the citation is adjudicated. We do the DataQs. I've got a team of 6 people that's everything they do. They know exactly how to put stuff together. And if you are going to do this little hint, if you're going to do something like this for yourself, put it all in one file. The ticket, the inspection, the story behind it, any pictures, blah, 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 and try to put it in chronological order of things that happen and submit it that way. They have one thing to open. They'll scroll through. They may even give you the benefit of the doubt just because it's well put together. The thing that you do not want to do is challenge every single violation that comes across your desk, because you will lose all credibility with those folks. They see your name come up, they're like, oh yeah. It's just like the boy that cried wolf. They see your name or your company come up, which that's what we have to be careful of, because we do hundreds of these every day. They see your name come up, and if it's just something that you've thrown against the wall 6 times before, they're just gonna say, no, it's just another one of those. No, no, no. So you don't want to lose credibility, and you don't want to work with somebody that honestly, you don't want to work with somebody that tells you, yeah, we're going to challenge everything for you. That's a bad idea. One more thing before I go. If anybody has a crash, a DOT preventable crash, or you have drivers working for you and they've been involved in a DOT reportable crash, many of those are now challengeable in the way of you can have it move from preventable to non-preventable on your safety record. It still shows on your history, but that is taken out of the score. There's 22 crash types that we can challenge under the Crash Preventability Determination Program. Believe it or not, it was something the feds gave us. They gave us 16 to begin with, and then they actually expanded it and gave us 7 more that says, if you're involved in a crash type like this, we will move it from preventable to non-preventable. Because all DOT reportable crashes go on your record, regardless of, I'm not going to use the word fault, regardless of the word preventability. Okay? So take that opportunity. If you have one and it's affecting your score and your insurance rates, stuff like that, let's take a look at it. Get it challenged. And a couple of the ones that they gave us currently, or in the latest update, one was anything involving video that shows the sequence of events. That's important. It has to show the sequence of events leading up to the crash, showing that the driver was non-preventable on your driver's part. The other one was loss of control, that if you had a loss of control crash before, let's say it was bad weather, rain, somebody spun out, hit the center rail, came over and hit you in the side, you could not challenge that. Now you can. As long as somewhere on the crash report, the police report, a citation, something, it specifically says loss of control. It's important, but boy, that's something. But if your truck gets rear-ended, gets hit in the side, somebody has a medical emergency and hits your truck, somebody come in the opposite direction, I'm not going to be able to rattle off all 22, but it really, really helps us as an industry to get those things marked the correct way on our safety records. So keep your eye on updates from the federal government regarding changes to the CSA system. It's the SMS system. The scoring is going to change. Don't know when. The thing about it is, it's not a program that has to have an act of Congress, literally. This was something that the FMCSA created, so they can change it when they see fit. All the stuff is there. They're going to change the scoring all from 1 to 10 to either it's a 1 point or 2 point, putting stuff in groups. It will have some impact. You can get on your site, if you have a company or even on your own, you go to your Safer site and it shows a CSA prioritization preview. And basically it would take all your current information and show you what your scores would look like under the new scoring system. Honestly, for the most part, I haven't seen a huge change. There are some differences, mainly in the vehicle maintenance area, but good scores are typically good scores, bad scores are typically bad scores. But take a look at that. It's coming. We just don't know when. It could be something like the crash stuff where they added more crash types. We knew it was coming. We didn't know when. It was announced on a Thursday that, hey, it goes into effect on Monday. Huh. Thank you. So that's probably how it'll end up on the CSA side. So with that, we have a couple minutes for any questions. Yes, ma'am. Okay. In 2 minutes or less, the question is the difference between ISS, SMS, and CSA? Okay, CSA is the program, okay, compliance, safety, and accountability. That's the program that's us all under. SMS is the actual scoring methodology that creates the scores. If you want to have a fun read, look at that methodology. I think it's about a dozen pages long on how they calculate all this stuff. It's ridiculous. And ISS number, your ISS score, that is the inspection selection system. Okay, thank you. That takes all your CSA scores and kind of accumulates them into one score from 1 to 100. And we know how the towers work on the pre-pass and stuff like that. You go onto the first tower, all your stuff is sent to the scale house, all your information. It spits out that ISS number, and by the time the truck goes under the second tower, that's how you get the red light or green light. It looks at that score. 0 to 49 is good, it's green light. They're gonna bypass you all the time. 50 to 74 is optional. They may pull you in, they may not. You know, it's their option. Usually you've got one elevated score, or maybe an out of service rate's a little high or something like that. That's typically where that hits. And honestly, new ventures oftentimes fall in that optional just because there's no data in the system on them. So they want to get some data in on them. So it's optional if they want to look at them. 75 to 100, that's red. That's a must inspect. So most oftentimes the truck will get pulled in by that score. And what really puts that thing up there, and I know we love talking about it, is hours of service. Hours of service, man, you get an elevated score on hours of service, you're immediately red. That mean we're done? Okay. If you have more questions, I'll hang out over here, but thank you all very much for stopping in. I appreciate it.